Does a person always have to have the same force on their 2 feet when standing? So what are we asking about here, right? So if this, I'm going to kind of draw a stick here that represents a person. If a person is standing on their 2 feet, on, feet being at the bottom of their 2 legs, I guess, right? We're talking about the 2 forces applied here, right? And we're basically asking, like, would those two have to be equal? Well, if the person is standing nice and symmetrically, right, they probably will be equal. But what if the person shifts their weight, right? So in other words, if they shifted their weight, then maybe one foot is kind of out here, one leg's kind of out there, and the other one is more directly underneath them. And from a center of mass point perspective, right, when those 2 forces are equal, that kind of corresponds to when the center of mass point is kind of directly above the midpoint between their 2 feet. But if they shift their weight, it means they've shifted their center of mass point to one side. And what's going to wind up happening is there will be a larger force on that side and a smaller force on the other side. And maybe something to possibly be excited about is in the next chapter, we're going to actually be developing the physics. Like if you ask, like, well, if if the center of mass point is at this location in space and the total mass of this person is this, can you calculate what these 2 forces are? The answer is yes, we can do that, but we're doing that in a future chapter. I think it's the next chapter, not this one. But hopefully this kind of makes intuitive sense. And in terms of the concept of, like, well, can the person be in equilibrium with their weight shifted? Yes, they can, as long as the center of mass is over their support base. And one way of thinking about it in terms of these 2 forces, if they shift their weight too far, at some point this force would diminish to 0, and then it would have to be like maybe kind of like an adhesive type of force. Like maybe they could only keep their balance if their foot was like super glued to the floor, right? But presuming it's not, they would fall if they shift their weight too far. Anyway, the answer is no, a person can shift their weight so that more weight is on one foot than the other. And we have similar to, these stick figures are a lot better than the ones I just drew though, right? But there it is.